I'm Mariana Cordier. Welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. There are those in Congress who believe that the national debt crisis has been overblown. Jane DeWinter, an economist who comments for the show, will explain the international importance of the recent votes in Congress. Pressure to go to college hits our high school students from all directions, parents, teachers, and colleagues alike. But there may be a hidden cost to college, the opportunity cost. Erin Overton from heatherstone.com, also a teacher at Wheaton High School, is here to tell us more. There is new thinking about housing for disabled adults. Tim Weens, the executive director of Jubilee, a local agency that provides housing for this group in our community, will describe the latest discussions. The Conflict Resolution Center of Montgomery County has been providing services since 2001 to schools, families, neighborhoods, and others in our county. Matthew Johnson, who runs one of the programs, will tell us about this important service. So Jane, welcome back to our show.
Thank you.
So it has been a crazy couple of weeks with Congress and the shutdown and everything going on. What do you think? What's the impact of this latest return to work?
Well, the crazy is really a lot longer standing than just the last couple of weeks. But you know, a lot of people may think, okay, we reopened today, people are back to work. I think I was at a meeting this morning with a lot of people who work for the federal government, and they were so happy to be able to go back in. But you know, a lot of aspects of the specific agreement are still going to have some repercussions. I mean, right now the projections are that just this shutdown, just sort of the slowdown in economic activity from the last couple of weeks, is going to shave about 0.2% off of the whole annual gross national product in the United States. But I think even more significant is the fact that because this agreement just kind of kicks the can down the road to January and to February, they're anticipating that, you know, like holiday spending.
What an awful time period to do this, because I think a lot of the, you know, retailers make a lot of their income pretty much from Halloween until after the winter Christmas
Exactly.
holidays.
I mean, there's a lot of retailers that are counting on, you know, that they're making, you know, 50-75% of their annual sales in that period, really between Thanksgiving and
It starts
Christmas.
even earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, you already are seeing Christmas decorations in some of the places around. It's getting earlier and earlier. I think they're just like it should just be 365 at this point. They'll just go year round. They'll just do it.
Well, yeah, they might have to if the government keeps getting shut down, right?
But so that there's that anticipation that because the government is now funded through January 15th, but you know, we could be going through this all over again from January 15th. So.
And why does it keep getting postponed? What is it that needs to be done to resolve it so we don't keep having an extension?
The federal government's fiscal year starts on October 1st, and so presumably the federal government is supposed to, I mean, the Congress, Senate, and House of Representatives are supposed to pass a budget, like a full budget for the full year, before October 1st.
Well,
but they
when was
can't
the last time that happened?
Right, it hasn't happened for a long time.
Like it's been years, right?
Exactly, very long time. And so it keeps getting funded by continuing resolutions, that they're never passing a whole annual budget because they can't agree on the pieces. So it just keeps getting postponed. Okay, we'll do a resolution that carries us for 6 months or carries us for, you know, a certain period of time. So now it's gone to January 15th, and besides the fact that it's only funded through January 15th, that's also the date when there's supposed to be a whole additional round of sequester related
So what
cuts.
would happen if the government actually did go into default? You know, some people are saying, oh, well, you know, we could prioritize, we could kind of get through, it wouldn't be all that bad. What's your sense of the ramifications?
Well, with default, I mean, basically the government is, you know, is sort of like any person. They're spending more than they bring in, so that they can't meet all their obligations unless they continually are able to borrow more money. So some of it would be not being able to actually pay bills of, whether it was defense spending or whether it was to provide benefits like do Social Security payments, but also, I mean, all of the debt that's out in the world, like the Japanese that own, all these treasury bills and whatever. I mean, those are continually coming up that, okay, you buy something,
But what's the annual actual interest cost? Isn't it only in the, say, tens of billions as opposed to, I mean, huge, like the $1 trillion sort of things we hear?
Well, it's a lot lower, but that's also because interest rates have been so incredibly low. But just even in the last, during this last 3 weeks, the rate about tripled. And so tripled from, 0.10% to 0.3 is not so much, but that's the other thing. Especially, there's been a lot of talk about having us downgraded. I mean, the United States will still be able to borrow, but it could cost more. So that even though right now we're looking at low rates.
What's the impact to the common person, the Joe on the street? What is it going to, how does that
We owe more.
Right.
We each individually totally owe more in our shares of what the total government is. That's the impact, is it not?
Right, well, that is the impact, but that's not necessarily because of what's going on right now. That's just sort of the underlying condition. But right now, I think that there's going to continue to be uncertainty, and I think that it's going to slow. I mean, we are supposedly in recovery, but the jobs market has nowhere near recovered, and I think that all of what's going on now is just going to continue to slow it, and we may, in fact, see some increases in interest rates.
Okay, and so you have 30 seconds. Any last crystal ball predictions for what's going to happen in January?
I don't know. You don't really want to ask me about what to do with all those Republicans. Except for him, he's okay.
Yeah.
But aside the rest of them, I
Come
don't.
on
Yeah,
now.
okay, sorry.
So
But I think really the best thing would be is if the main Republican Party could wrest control from the Tea Party. I think
or maybe the Tea Party could wrest complete control of the Republican Party, and that might be good too.
Well, Aaron,
Okay.
that's a nice segue.
It's not a segue at all. What are you talking about?
Well, economy, jobs, schools.
Schools,
I can see a transition.
Yes.
Well, Aaron
Yeah,
Overton,
yeah,
thank you for being here today.
Sure, I'm happy to. Yeah, we're I've been writing about this and talking about this a lot. Kids are going to college, right? They're starting to really think about that. The seniors are like just let's see, was it yesterday? Yes, just yesterday. We had all the seniors were gathering in the auditorium and stuff like that, and being told about colleges and everything. And very typical of it, as I was speaking to one of the assistant principals, who I won't name, now I know. I was saying, where are the alternatives to college being presented here? And she said, over in the auditorium, because that's where trade schools and the military are, right? And it just kind of like, to me, the thing that strikes me about it is that there's so many other alternatives to what they could do, because the college degree, I think one part we definitely agree on is it's gotten so incredibly expensive. You have people going to 4-year schools and coming out with $50, $60, $80, $100,000 in debt. They go to a grad school, they go to medical school, they come out with just a tremendous amount. And that is taking away from their future earnings and their ability to do those activities that they might want to do the moment that they get out of college. And so it's time to really be thinking about what are some alternatives to it. And if they think about those alternatives, it's not, and one thing I want to make really clear, because there's, people like my friend Heather over at at Wheaton High School. She, stares at me funny every time I say alternatives to college. But the reality is that a kid should be going to college because they thought about it and it was the right choice and it was the best choice for them. And sometimes it really isn't. I mean, Jane, weren't you talking about a place? Remind me what it was. The school that's requiring college acceptance. Were you not telling me that?
No, I was not telling you that.
Well,
but what I was going to say is I think that it's an interesting point that what you were saying about how, so the colleges are in the gym and then the trade schools and the military are in the auditorium. And so you get this bifurcation where there's been a lot of groups that have been talking for a long time that, something like a trade school, that's a real viable alternative.
Absolutely.
I mean, believe me, plumbers make a lot of money, electricians make a lot of money. You need training to do those things, but they're very good careers. And so, you know,
Yeah, I
by
mean,
by
you can,
putting
you can
that.
skip the lawyer, but
Well-
if you've got burst pipes,
Right,
there is
but
no
I mean,
question.
but by putting that sort of in a separate place and by not highlighting that that's a real option.
Well, no, I mean,
yeah,
that's probably more space issues than it is like
Well,
that they're
it
trying
is,
to avoid
except-
it. But yeah, I mean, you have like whole seminars about here's how you borrow the money for college, and you know, frankly, like let's say you take $50,000 in 4 years, there are lots of other things you can do with that. I mean, like you can, you know, I'm going to start sounding like Matthew Lesko, right? Like you can start a business, you can do this, you can do that. I see that guy sometimes. I saw him at Wheaton High School the other day with the question marks
My
on
only
his
thing
suits.
is that
But,
with that is that, you know, when you're in high school and you've graduated and you're 18, you know, the maturity level differs among some. Some can be very entrepreneurial, but others may not, or may find themselves, you know, taken advantage of and going off to pursue business, because businesses are hard to get up and running. I mean,
sure,
there's
but
a
so
lot
is
of
college.
failures.
College is a lot. There's a lot of failures in college too. There's just so many different options.
As the person the least farthest removed from college, I'm going to assume I have a strong opinion about this, but I'm going to agree with Erin because for me, I mean, I'm doing conflict resolution now, and I'm also studying it on the master's level. When I was, you know, 16, 17, ready to get out of high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I actually studied journalism. That was my undergraduate degree. So I would be in your chair if I hadn't had this whole period of rediscovery around 24 and then decided to, you know, work for the Conflict Resolution Center in Montgomery County and become a mediator, you know, get into things I'd never even heard of when I was that old, restorative justice, and then pursue peace and conflict studies on the master's level.
I have a computer science degree that has 12 of my 120 credits were the required foreign language of German that, you know, I haven't spoken a word of German except in jest ever since. You know, I've never had a conversation in German.
So being that you're a high school teacher as well, what would be the recommendation you would make to parents and students who are in high school and thinking about what they're going to do for the future?
Right. I would say,
so
here's a couple of things. First of all, I would say that you should think about your two options with a little bit more than just that, right? It's like study the options that are the alternatives to college as heavily as you study which college to go to.
And for me, it
and
wasn't
then make
an
a
option.
decision.
It wasn't an option. It was you're going to college.
You're going
you know,
to college.
I had a Harvard
right.
picture on my wall. Didn't end up going there. I went to the University of Maryland, but
Right.
it was never an option. It was never you can actually go start a business. That was never even put forward by anybody.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
and
that's
there's-
the last word,
Okay.
because we're out of time. So we'll be back after these messages.
The first day stepping on the court, I couldn't keep up. That motivated me to step up my game. When I reach a goal, I set a new one the next day. The best feeling is getting to a place you've been fighting for. Tennis taught me to never give up in anything. School, sports, life. Your opponent has to earn their victory. Nothing in life is guaranteed, so education is important. Going to college is one of my biggest goals. I can't wait. Mastering the court takes persistence. So does getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are the #1 killer of children 1 through 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Nice. No. Oops. Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Moms everywhere are finding ways to keep kids active and healthy.
Works every time.
Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov.
Welcome back, everyone. So Tim, welcome back to the show. Thank you for being here. Great. So talk to us about Jubilee and what it's doing currently with regard to housing for disabled adults.
So Jubilee provides residential services to about 130 people in about 60 locations throughout Montgomery County. And we've been around for 35 years, and when we started, group homes was the thing. That's the way you did that. And you move people from home or out of institutions into group homes. And so we're trying to go beyond group homes. We still have group homes, and we're not closing them down, but we're not opening any more group homes. So we're trying to figure out better ways to provide residential services, better ways for people with intellectual and other developmental disabilities to live in the community. And kind of the philosophy that's driving this is, in our field, it's called self-determination. It's giving people and their families more control over their lives. And we know from research that the people that we serve are happier when they live in their own home. So what does that look like? A group home sort of could be their own home, but it's really not. It's our, Jubilee owns it. It's our home. If it doesn't work out, you have to leave, because it's our home. So, we're helping people live in apartments. We're helping people. Some people stay with their families with some in-home support so they can stay there longer. We're also doing things that look like group homes, but we don't own them. They're not our houses. And so we're partnering with groups. The Montgomery County Housing Opportunities Commission owns several houses where we provide the services. Rosario Communities, which is connected to the Archdiocese of Washington, they're opening some homes connected to their parishes. They're their homes. We provide the services. If people want to, we're encouraging families, we'll say, leave the house to your son or daughter.
Right.
We'll help them manage that, but it's their house. And so at any point, they don't like Jubilee, they can get somebody else to come in. It's their house. And it kind of gives them more control, and I think it improves the quality of their life.
And what changed the philosophy from group homes to this new?
I think that the whole self-advocacy, parent advocacy, people wanting to have more control over their lives has been growing. It's not specific to our field, but that is played itself out in terms of saying, I don't want to live in a group home. I want to have control over my life. I want to make my own decisions. Right. And so that's what's driving this, and we're responding by trying to figure that out. And some of those alternatives are less expensive, and some of them aren't. But it's just giving people more choices.
Are your clients typically because are they mentally disabled, physically disabled? Is it a mix? Where's your
they have
focus?
an intellectual disability. It used to be called mental retardation, and now the term is intellectual disability. But other types of developmental disabilities would include autism, or people with cerebral palsy that have a fairly severe case of that. So they're not able to live completely independently.
Right.
So that's the folks that we're dealing with. Usually they live with their parents. As their parents get older, they say, well, what's going to happen next?
Right. What does it cost for your organization to house a typical adult with these kind of issues?
So there's a wide range because there's a wide level of disability. So people with very severe disabilities, we're looking at over $100,000 a year. They need 24-hour supervision and awake overnight, all of that kind of thing.
And is there a website to your organization?
Sure. It's jubileemd.org is our website, and anybody can go there and get more information.
Are there other locations beyond Maryland, or are you
We're just in Montgomery County.
Okay.
So, and there are a lot of other agencies doing this. Jubilee isn't the only one, and that's a good thing. There should be kind of competition and choices for people.
This reminds me, or the whole topic of people wanting more self-determination reminds me of the recent lawsuit that over a woman who had Down syndrome and didn't want, wanted to be able to make choices aside from her parents. And I think part of that comes also from just people having more expectations for children, that have intellectual disabilities, but that they are able to, to learn and achieve, and that I think we just think about people differently than maybe 30,
the young woman
40
in Virginia
years ago.
was sort of a rock star in our field because she stood up and she said, no, this is what I want. This is who I want to live with. And making choices for herself, and that's really what we're all about, is helping people make choices for themselves.
And what kind of services do you provide for those who are staying in their home or renting or that sort of thing?
So again, if people are living in their own apartment, most of the people that we serve need help with money management. They need help with meal planning. They need help managing their medical services, managing their relationships, transportation, those kind of things. People with more severe disabilities might need personal assistance Some of the people that we serve are also physically disabled, but not all of them. So they may need help with transferring, with personal hygiene, with those kind of things.
Well, Tim, I want to thank you so much for doing this work. My uncle has Alzheimer's, and we're actually working on getting him into a long-term placement. I don't know if you deal with Alzheimer's, but it's serious, and he's very young. He's only 55, so it's early onset. And just thank you. It's important work. It's very stressful for families to have to deal with these things.
And he gets the last word on that topic.
So developmental means the disability occurs during birth or childhood. So it wouldn't include a person who develops Alzheimer's late in life, but a lot of people with Down syndrome actually develop Alzheimer's. It's a very high incidence if you live into your late 50s or 60s. So.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, welcome, Matthew Johnson, to the show. This is your first time, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I'm happy to be here.
We're glad you're here. So Montgomery County has the Conflict Resolution Center. What is that? What are you guys doing over there?
Well, I was saying over lunch with all of you that it's very difficult to explain briefly. I'll try my best. We provide for about 10, 11 years now, we've provided comprehensive conflict services to the county, and it says in the name resolution, but it really is more than just resolution. It's conflict management. As conflicts arise, it may not be resolved, but you can still get better at dealing with them. And in some cases, transforming the conflict into something else.
So which conflicts are we talking about? Are we talking about neighborhoods, individuals?
We're talking about all of the above. I mean, we spread a wide net at times. Generally, it is between 2 to 4 people in adult mediation. That's the main service we provide. The other really rising service that we're starting to do more and more of is around youth. We do take referrals from all the schools and set up what are called community conferences with the parents and sometimes the school staff to try to resolve issues. And we also operate, and that's part I'm in charge of that, is we operate in 2 middle schools, Loiterman and Sligo Middle School, and we're there 2 days a week per school to resolve conflicts as they arise with students.
And don't you also, I mean, my understanding is you also would provide training, like you could provide a program where, youth might not actually have a particular, specific conflict right there, but you're working with them on what are the skills you're going to need in life to resolve conflicts that arise.
That's correct. We provide a conflict management training, and school staff could be youth, adults. We've worked with many groups. I should mention most of our services are free. That is one we ask a very small fee for to cover costs. And yes, we call it conflict management training, and it's basically one of the main things it covers is the 5 levels of conflict, or 5 approaches to conflict. You can avoid, you can compete, you can compromise, like Obama tends to do, collaborate, or even avoid, avoid the issue entirely. That's a conflict strategy. We associate it with the negative, but there's some cases where it's a good idea. Like if I bump into a 7'5" tall man in the metro and he's really mad, I might want to just pretend to get away.
Yeah.
So.
But you guys don't do divorces, mediation?
We do parenting plan, which is a special form of mediation, a lot more paperwork, a lot more advanced training. We do not do divorce mediation at this time. We also offer senior mediation, which helps senior citizens transition into possibly home care, things like that.
And you have a website, correct?
Yes, it's crcmc.org, and we call it CRICMIC. That's our little...
Wait, you did that so fast for our viewers. Can you do it one more time slowly?
C as in cat R, C, M as in Matthew, C.org.
Great.
And we can say CRICMIC for short.
CRICMIC. And what can you find on the website?
You can find some detail on all of our programs. You can find our number for the office, staff email addresses, everything you need. Also, we're having a big event, and everyone is welcome to attend November 7th, actually right here in Rockville at the Viz Arts Center. 7 p.m. we're having our annual Peacemaker Award celebration where we're honoring Sally Rudney for that award. So you can get more details and sponsorships and information at the website.
And
So you're in this field doing this work. And what's your sense of kind of us as a society? Are we getting better or worse at resolving conflicts? Is that why you're, there because we're having more trouble doing it, or is this just a new service, or are we getting better or worse at this as a community?
That's a great question, Tim. The way I would answer that is to say that our ideology that we really share in the organization, we do different things. We come from different backgrounds, like lawyers, different backgrounds. But the one thing we have in common is we believe that people generally have the skills to resolve their own conflicts. They're not always going to handle it the same way. Sometimes it's going to take a long time. Sometimes, you know, they may even need services we can't provide, like counseling, legal services. But we strongly believe that people, if you give them a space to talk out their issues, if you have trained people there to help them do that, if you listen to them, they can resolve their issues over time, and not always, but you know, if we'll refer them to other areas that we can't.
So you
provide.
could actually help with a teen that doesn't want to go to college, maybe like get along with the parents that want him to. Is that possible?
Well, I would
Absolutely.
really rather
Yeah.
just send you
Absolutely.
downtown to the Capitol.
We're not that big yet. We don't deal with those things. Maybe one day, you know, we're in the area.
people.
So.
And do you only take cases and referrals in the county?
Yes, at the time I have been exploring partnerships with other organizations in the area, just because they do great work and we want to always be in touch. But as of right now, our grants stipulate the work has to be in the county.
So there are multiple programs going on right now.
Yes.
At the center. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here,
Thank you.
and I hope we'll see you again on the show.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's great. I love the format.
Well, that's great. Well, then, thank you all for joining me this week, and to our guests, thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Mariana Cordier. Please join us next week at the same time.